Obviously, very excited for Luke and the opportunity that he has ahead of him, not just in this game but into the future. Just super impressed with his growth over the last year and so many different ways. I mean, obviously you guys see the stuff on the field, but his direction, his intentional leadership in the building, with the young players, old players, transfer players, high school players, defensive players. Like I remember walking into a fall camp meal and I saw him sitting with two or three defensive guys, and I began to see the things that I knew could really transpire. So just a great example of what I think is everything right in our program. Really, college football just stands for all the right things, and also in this crazy world that we're in right now with the portal and the transfers, like he's a definition of what you're looking for. I think I always tell our coaches, right, that I know once in a while in this portal world, because you recruit kids in such a short window of time, that sometimes you can get surprised, but you just can't put yourself at a point to put too big a risk, right? And that's something that I think happens all the time in this business we're in now. So really, really excited for him. It's an example of what we are and what we can be. So, as far as everything else, couldn't be more excited about. We just got another good practice in today. So today is kind of like a Tuesday of game week where we got 3 practices in last week. We got 3 practices in this week. We'll get 3 practices in down at the bowl game and the walk. So almost get 3 times the level of preparation. So you got to make sure you keep it kind of fresh, crisp, clean. Today we went full pads, went a lot of early down stuff, did 2 phases of the kicking game. We'll take the day tomorrow. We're in finals week, so it's really important for our guys to have the time they need for academics. So tomorrow a little bit of everything. Actually taking them to the ribeye after this. If you guys want to crash a ribeye party, they're all going to the ribeye. Got 110 of our monsters going in there. They got either a 12, 20, or a 30 ounce. I'm sure there'll be too many 30 ounces ordered, but I know the O-line, D-line, especially on outset this morning, we're very, very excited. So kind of do some different things for them. We also have a Friday night. We got a gift suite at the country club. We'll take them over for what we normally do on our Friday night meals before our home games. They always love that meal, and then we'll tie that in with a gift suite that they get to order before the bowl game. So this week I think it's important to give them some space, give them some time, but also let them feel the reward of the bowl game. So probably some things you guys don't know. We've had a number of guys get in the portal, right, that just feel that they might have a better opportunity somewhere else. Some of those guys have afforded the opportunity to come back and play the bowl game with us. So some guys that have been with us all the way through, even though they got in the portal, Declan Dooley, Canary Wilcher, and a couple other guys are still in the process of it. There was a couple guys that weren't here today that are on visits other places, but I just think the kids that I built relationships with, my opinion of who they are and what they are doesn't change, and I want them to be successful once they're past here. So that's really not the norm. I get it, but it's something I really believe in, giving these guys an opportunity. So I think we got a good handle on who all our guys are going to be. Obviously, Pat won't be there. Is really the only opt-out that we have that I plan on only being the only guy besides some of the guys that have jumped in the portal. So everybody's out there going through their practice and had another really good practice and opportunity today, and been really impressed with their energy and their flow. We had a lot of visitors in today. We have some portal visitors. We had a high school player on campus, and they all just talk about the juice at our practice, the excitement, the energy. So I'm really excited about where they're at. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
It goes without asking, but what is the value for an organization to have a quarterback back for his 3rd year who's accomplished as much as Luke has?
Yeah, good question. I would say especially a player of his caliber, right? Just because he spent 3 years doesn't make it great, but like he gets it, he sees it, he understands it. Him and Barry, I think, have really got a really special relationship. So I think to have that catalyst, you throw Art in the mix. I mean, here's a guy that was one year removed before he got here. Have some really good players. I think Josh Kreutz, I let Josh be available, even though you guys left him standing over there all by himself while you're talking to him. So I was just looking at him. He started laughing. I think Josh gets it and understands it. Obviously, he's got a training mechanism of being around NFL, good quarterbacks that he sees on a daily. I thought it was really important. I want to do it at that. I thought Pat Pearson had a really good idea to do it around that basketball game, knew the environment that it was going to be to capitalize on that moment. I think you'll see some other guys mention that they're coming back, right? That will kind of sprinkle in here as we get closer to the holiday season. So, but yeah, Luke, I think because of who he is, that's what I get excited about, right? Obviously, that probably was a big part of Donovan's decision, right? Like I'd literally expressed to him on how much I love him and where I'd want him to be. I gave him the opportunity to stay here through it, but I also understand he's got to go find his next opportunity. But it's kind of the world we're living in, right? Even though you have depth, it's kind of like why it's been a little bit hard to sign D linemen here the last couple of years because we had so many good D lineman guys coming. With Johnny and Keith were here, that it was hard to get some of those guys in, and it really is a catch-all. So I think now in this world we're in, you literally. I'm a development believer. I believe in development, but it's almost like you got to kind of concentrate on one year to the next, just because your roster is so fluid.
Brett, how important is it to retain your best players? You've been able to do that
Yeah.
a lot. Like, how important is that for your program and building?
You know, Jeremy, I would say that it doesn't happen by chance, right? I literally build relationships with kids. Like I coach, you know, I'm a head coach. I get it, but I mean, today I got I think 22 meetings with players today. I meet with our players twice a year, everybody on the roster, and I think as I learn about what goes on in other programs, there's guys like Coach. I've never been in a head coach's office, right? So like I think we're very intentional in how we build this building. On the flip side of it, I think when kids opt out, like, you know, I told Pat, like, hey, I don't just like I did with those other guys, like when Spoon jumped out and the Brown brothers, like, let them have their moment. So I think Pat will join us in Florida for a day and get a chance to talk to our team. I think kids still gravitate. Everybody wants to talk about how the 18 to 22-year-old kid is different. I think they're the exact same. You just have to find a different way to connect with them, right? And I think they all still gravitate to truth and honesty and integrity. Even though we may have a conversation that isn't a lot of fun to have, it's one that need to be had. And I think that kind of plays out. And then to keep our best players, listen, I started meeting with our administration by week one, right? Like, it wasn't too hard for me to figure out who's going to be our best players coming back. And you know, I think we're either first or second youngest team in Power 4 football coming back. We're all juniors and sophomores, so it was very easy for me to see if we could get Luke to come back on offense. Obviously, wide receiver, we knew we were going to have transition with Pat and Zakari, but have 3 really good returning offensive linemen, have 2 tight ends, one that didn't get to play this year, Tanner Arkin. We have a host of, I'm not even talking to, and I've had so many portal running backs reach out to me because of what we've done in the past, but I'm not even talking to a portal running back because I think our room is really, really good. And on the defense side of the ball, you know, a key group of players coming back that really, this was their first year starting, that is going to be a big part. And then just a simple thing like Dylan getting banged up and having Crutsey and Malachi Hood come in, now you know what they're capable of doing, which makes you even more excited. You got Miles Scott, Mac Resettage, Matt Bailey, Xavier Scott, Caleb Patterson, Torrey Cox. You have 5 or 6, 7 DBs that have played a lot of really good football. That's usually the hard piece to find. So I couldn't be, and then obviously my retention of staff. Josh gave me the opportunity to do some things with our staff that I feel really good about being able to retain and keep those guys here, and it's a really fun time to be here.
And
But
these
during
bowl
this-
practices,
during this,
which are obviously important.
What's that?
These bowl practices, that
Yep.
every program loves them, but
Yeah.
you mentioned all the sophomores and juniors coming back. Can they have more value for this particular team because you've got that huge group that will be back?
Absolutely, and then, you know, just got some you know, key guys that have been right on the cusp, you know, that haven't had a lot of reps, but we, you know, for really last week in particular, we did a lot of work with our 2s and 3s, kind of treated it as a bye week. Our 1s still got a lot of reps, but we really tried to develop some of those younger guys, and I think, you know, you never know how a year from now that's going to pay off for you, right? They know that you're coaching them, building them, or breeding them. I think everybody thinks that you just practice, you get better, right? But it's how you practice, right? And I think our guys, I was told that there's some teams that are in bowl practices, but kids didn't really want to be there, right? So like I try to shorten it, keep it clean, keep it crisp, reward them with some fun things, and hopefully just keep getting better.
During this portal cycle or season or whatever you want to call it, do you feel like you have the resources to land some kids that can come in and make an impact for you?
I do. I think, you know, one of our big things in this time frame is just getting on it's really a difficult time. Kids are, you know, they're literally, you know, you could talk to them at 10 o'clock last night, and by 10 o'clock today, the schedule, you know, their schedule may change or their opportunities may change. You know, one of the biggest battles we fight here at Illinois is getting kids in school, right? Like there's the timing of the calendar, and then everybody goes on break here on December 25th and doesn't come back till January 10th, and that's a big time. We also have some rules within our university that really structure and restrict us getting older players. So like Zakari Franklin wanted to possibly come here 2 years ago, and we couldn't get him in because of the hours he had passed. So we actually had to let him go to Ole Miss, which comes crazy, right? And he then graduated and came here as a grad player, right? So, you know, Art Sikowski was the first kid that had ever done that here at the University of Illinois. When I signed him, we had to go through a litany of jungle gym jump through hoops to get him here, and then he had to do a lot academically. So that's the part that's very frustrating for me. It's one thing to have a kid that wants to come here, and then because of some mental gymnastics that haven't been ironed out, that you can't get them here. That's very frustrating. But as far as the resource, I think we're getting to a playing field right now in college football that there's still going to be a 6-month window there where some people are having some monopoly money that's kind of crazy, but for the most part, I think it's getting closer and better.
What's
Barry
it been
said-
like for you guys so far in the portal hunt?
Yeah, it's I've been doing this going in my 17th year, and it's by far been the craziest 2 weeks of my tenure. It's just insanity. I give Pat Hamilton, Jay Kaiser, Dre Brown just an incredible amount of kudos because I literally walked off press field and just went upstairs and they got 12 guys for me to watch. Right, they got in the portal since last night. I was here a long time last night and watched about 18 guys. It's not just the talent. Now you want to try to find out what they are. You guys know where I'm going. Like there's some guys that listen on defense or on offense. Zachary Franklin had a huge impact this year. Luke Altmyer, Melvin Priestley, J.C. Davis, some guys on the periphery that are really. And then on defense, you look at T.Rod Edwards, who's the backbone of our defense. Who's a transfer 3 years ago, right? Dennis Briggs. You look at Alec Bryan and what he is and what he could be for us in the future. Just really, there's probably about a half a dozen guys on both sides of the ball each year that will dramatically impact your team, and you got to make sure they're the right kind of guy.
Barry said there's coaches that are getting pinged every time somebody's in the portal. Do you ever feel like you arrive at I have a grasp of who's out there, what's available, and what we need?
In the portal?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. I'm not on the portal ding list, but I know that. I mean, I'm sitting next to Pat and I'll hear him thing going off. I think it's like his alarm. It's going off, right? Him and Jay. I can't be in that role, but they filter it. They get it to me. I can honestly say that probably every kid that we have come in this building, I've looked at, evaluating, and because the bottom line stops with me, right? Yeah. So obviously you're going to have different opinions too. Like I may really like this one guy and others may not, but I kind of just say, hey, what Pat and I and the personnel department decide to do, that's what we do, and everybody moves forward. Because if you really truly wait just even an hour or two, sometimes a kid can be gone. So. I know I've called a kid. I never usually try to call a kid past 9 or 10, but I've reached out at 11, 11:30. I was just showing, hey, are you up? Right? Because you just know. And then you got kids on visits at other places, right? Like you don't know where the hell they're at, right? So it is complete panic. And it's so funny. I probably talked to at least 3 coaches in our conference, and at least 3 coaches I know, 2 SEC and 1 ACC in the last 4 to 5 days, and every one of them first thing we say is, holy Jesus, right? Everybody's going through it. So I think it's just pure pandemonium across the country, and it's really, I get it. It's a beneficial thing. I just hope that we, in some regard, can put on some guardrails because some of these kids are making decisions that are going to affect them academically for a long time, and that's the part that scares me more than anything. I love building a team. I love getting us in a position. I can see how beneficial it's going to be. I love watching kids come in this building. What's really happening for us now is we're getting a lot of kids that we recruited 2-3 years ago that maybe we weren't quite sexy enough or good enough yet, and now all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, look at Illinois. These guys are doing some things, right? And even there's been 5 kids that used to be in this program that are other places that have reached out to me, and I just got to decide what we're doing there, right? So some of that stuff is a lot of fun to sort through.
All good? Thank you, guys.